Dr. Denise, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's such a privilege. You are a food psychologist. What does that involve?
All right. Well, let me clarify something. I'm not a psychologist because that means license, basically, but I do have my PhD in educational psychology and research. And I have a focus on the psychology of eating. And so basically, what that means is I help people think outside of the box when it comes to their food and how we look at food, because we do a lot of mindless eating, right? So I help kind of interrupt those patterns that no longer serve people.
Patterns, right. What sorts of patterns are getting in our way with the gap between what we know we should be doing and what we are doing?
That's a great question. It's really interesting with this work that I do. So I like to look at things that just the world has shown us what goes together. So when I think about, watching TV or a movie, what goes with that? Snacking and eating popcorn, right? Just things that the food industry has taught us to kind of marry together. And we just automatically just kind of go down that rabbit hole and be like, oh, okay, that's normal. It may be normal, but it's not necessarily okay, but it can get us into trouble, right?
Right. So it sounds like the foods have been paired with other habits in our lives or other activities. And what do you do to normally overcome that? Do you recommend that people attribute or combine a different food or a different habit with these activities, like going to the movies?
Yeah, so I mean, just if anyone notices that they want to feel better, for one, obviously it's typically linked to food and the different patterns that they are probably doing without even realizing it. There's a great book by Dr. Wansink, I think, Wansink. He has a food lab at the Cornell University. And he just kind of basically breaks it down to where you want to think about doing things opposite, because we have gotten to a space to where we do things on autopilot. We get out of bed the same way. We may go right to the bathroom, and then most people go to the kitchen to drink coffee. Well, y- as far as me and my studies, and I'm trying to break someone's pattern, I'm just saying, okay, do everything opposite. All right. Get out of bed on the other side of the bed. Even if you have someone laying with you, just say, excuse me, I'm running an experiment. Let me just get out of autopilot for a second. Let me get my brain neurons just kind of firing for a little bit. If you go right to the bathroom, that's fine. Do what you got to do. We're not saying hold it and do something else. But if you're brushing your teeth, I say brush your teeth with your opposite or non-dominant hand. And what that actually does, it actually kind of makes you pay attention, because if you are brushing your teeth for me, my non-dominant hand is my left hand. And if you kind of hit the curves a little bit wrong, it's going to hurt. So you got to pay attention. And that's the point of it. It's going to be uncomfortable. And that's going to make you actually pay attention to what you're doing instead of just the same old grass or groundhog day. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm getting ready to do this next. And da 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 da. So it's just all about interrupting any kind of normal routine that you normally do, even if it's healthy for you. Um, One more thing is, like, for a person that has a 9 to 5 job, and they go to work Monday through Friday, take a different route to work, because you're seeing the same billboards every single time. And that's just more marketing and advertising. You're passing the same restaurants that you may go to after work because you need that little quick little snack, that little burger and fries or something like that before dinner time. So things of that nature just helps you get out of that typical routine, is what I help do with the autopilot thinking.
It sounds like changing the rest of the routine will change the food habits. That is joining so many dots for me. And I'm sure anyone who is listening can think of examples in their own lives, right? Where some things become automatic. I found myself going for a roll of sushi every single time I went to the gym. And I had to ask myself, this is becoming so consistent. But years ago, the unhealthy habits, there are some places where someone would get um, something a bit more fast food style. And I was going into the city where every place had pastries, a lot of pastries. And I bet you some people would be grabbing a pastry on the way to every single work day. Do you see people getting into those unhealthy habits where, especially on the go, when they're in a rush, they just grab something and they're not thinking about the calories or the impact. They just do it because it's there.
Yeah, like you just said, because it's there, right? A lot of times, like how many times can we say no at work, maybe, and it's a 3 o'clock meeting and they're passing out donuts and you're not even full or you're full and you're satisfied. And then, but it comes by you and you're like, well, it's free. So I have to have one. We do those things so often and most people, like you said, don't realize it. So yeah, it's all about just waking up and paying attention. And I know there's things out there like food diaries and journals and things of that nature. But there's some other creative ways that I kind of like to bring about the awareness and whatnot. So
Do you find that taking action is going to create more momentum than just writing about a change in a diary or a journal?
I mean, I would say still writing about it is still a good start. It's taking some kind of action toward the direction of where you want to go for sure. Because a lot of times we can get caught up into consuming information instead of doing. And that's one of the challenges that I find with a lot of people that may follow me on social media. And some people even think just watching my videos, they're doing something, truly beneficial for their bodies. And I'm like, well, in a way, yes, knowledge is great. However, you got to pair that with motion. So, you know, anything people can do to go in that direction where they're actually doing the action of it, definitely a good start for sure. Yeah,
I'm going to trust that approach could help us in all sorts of changes in our lives. Because a lot of people now, for example, are looking at videos about work or videos about how to help ourselves with all sorts of things. And have you seen essentially a gap at times where people are consuming a lot of content about what they should be doing, and they need to be taking more action?
yeah. I mean, we all can kind of get caught up in scrolling, right? So I actually just kind of released a challenge to where I'm walking people step by step on how to get started and where to begin. And somewhere in the middle of it, is around where people are saying to me, well, I just don't have the time. I've got family drama, I've got kids, I've got work, I'm trying to start my business and then trying to eat healthy, da da da. Da. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Let's pause for a second, open up your phone to this particular area, and let's just see how much you're spending on scrolling through social media. And what do you think the average amount of time is for the average person to scroll?
I could only guess the numbers because I haven't looked at mine in a while and I don't know the average, but we can get accurate info because the phones do tell us the screen time. What did you find people are doing on their phones in a day? How much time?
4 hours.
4 hours on the phone.
Yes, 4 hours. Yes. With
Is
between
that
all the different apps.
between everything? And we should admit that some of the screen time could be things like this, recording a podcast, but we have to really check how much of it. And it's really easy to see, okay, was there an appointment? And the rest of the time, what's going on the phone? Is it just flicking through content? It's so much time in our lives. Do you think people really are addicted?
For sure. And it's created that way on purpose. Absolutely. So yeah, just like any other kind of drug, smoking, which actually they say smoking is not an addiction, it's just a neural path type something. I
It's
can't remember
not an
what
addiction.
no, it's not an addiction. It's actually I can't remember the terminology, but no, it's not an addiction because and the reason why they say it's not an addiction is because once a person stops smoking, there is no symptoms that happen. You don't get headaches, you don't get any other kind of issues that happen when you get off of drinking alcohol or something like that. So by terminology, it's not an addiction, but obviously it is addictive, right?
Okay, addictions. Have you looked at what other things are addictions? You mentioned alcohol, and I'm curious about coffee as well.
Yes, coffee. So that's definitely for sure an addiction by term because when most people stop drinking coffee, they do get a whole lot of headaches and things of that nature. But I think a big part of it and the number one addiction that I understand is sugar. And in research, sugar is more addictive than cocaine, which to me, when I found that out, I think is astounding. So um, if I think if we were looking at sugar maybe 30 or 40 years ago in research and maybe the Food and Drug Regulation were kind of categorizing it as a food, I don't think it would be able to be called a food because it truly is a drug. But the fact that FDA is in the same administration, that's also kind of interesting too. But yes, but
Okay,
sugar is
there's our clickbait. Sugar is a drug.
yes,
And
right.
I can tell you that a few people, at least one talked on the show a while ago about how sugar is hidden in so many foods we wouldn't expect. And I was grateful to receive a lemon pepper seasoning, sort of powder seasoning. And I looked at the ingredients, and from what I remember, I think there was sugar added to that. And so I might use that a little bit, but I have to be mindful that, okay, I need to really stick with what I know, which is making things from scratch. So I know what goes into it. Two questions stem from this. So, do you find that when people make their own food, or if they know what someone else is putting into their food, making it from scratch, do you find that they have less hidden ingredients that they don't want? And the other question tied in with sugar is, did you find that some other sweet ingredients like maple syrup might be a bit more okay than using added sugars?
Great questions. I love those. Definitely, people are definitely way more aware when they're cooking at home. So we've got to figure out a way to get back to that. And that is something that I do talk about in my 13-week step by step program. Because, like you said, sugar is in everything or almost everything, and things that are not even meant to be sweet. The food scientists know just exactly how much to put in a product to make you addicted to it but not make it sweet at the same time. So that alone just kind of tells you what's going on. So for sure, if someone is cooking, like I know one of my things that I became more cognizant about was I was trying not to eat as much oil. And so, but I love fried foods. I'm plant based. I'm 100% plant based. So I fry mushrooms now, and it's like that took me off away from the fried chicken, right? And so the first time I fried some mushrooms, we got the oil in the pan. But this is my office back here. So
We can show, for those watching the video, we can show the pan if you want to, and then we can just explain it for those who are listening on audio. So is that's a proper pot-shaped pan behind you? What do you use? You can bring it
so
over to the camera if you want to. Why not?
let's see. All right.
Be like those
Um,
demonstration shows. I like this. I love those pans. Also, that's your frying pan.
this
That's
is my
non-stick.
frying pan for more. Yeah, for sure.
So it's
Um,
deep, for those who can't see, it's deep, what, an inch or 2 maybe, so you can fit a lot of food in there.
yes, for sure. Yes. And so, when you're frying something, you pretty much want to have it covered from bottom to top. And when I took the fried mushrooms out, I was like, what happened to all the oil that I poured in here?
It's all
It
soaked in like a
Yeah,
sponge.
yes, and I'm like, "That's a lot of oil to ingest," and yes, there are better oils out there than canola and vegetable, which are the worst too, but even if it's avocado oil or grapeseed oil or anything, that's still a lot of oil to put in your body, so just from that knowledge alone and actually seeing that connected with the emotion to it, that's what made me pull back a lot on, a lot of my favorite foods, so yeah. So
Yes.
definitely when people can see what's going on versus, just ordering, yeah, they'll definitely be more aware and able to stop.
So much is coming out from this. I can tell you that my first step towards wellness was food, and I'm resonating with what you are saying so much. I discovered whole plant diets before the pandemic, in the year or two before it, and I don't mind what everybody else will eat. We're all different. We all have our preferences. I'm not trying to convert the whole world, but I know what can work. And and the thing about eating whole plants is you then end up exploring different ways to, for example, use the oils. Some people get a reusable spray to just have a little bit of oil on. I try to, if I'm frying something, I don't mind having a bit of oil just shallow in the pan and not completely letting something swim in oil. However, there are now the air fryers. So then there's oven baking, but then how much oil are you pouring onto something before it goes into the oven, right? So we have all these habits. There are so many questions out of this. Did you find that switching to some sorts of habits with the oil helped to? Do you aim for moderation now? How do you handle that?
Man, that's a great question. I've been playing around with the whole plant-based lifestyle for almost 10 years now, I guess. So just a little bit of context. For me, I was raised on chitlins, pig feet, everything on the pig from the rooty to the tooty, right? If you guys could see her face right now, it's hilarious.
Well, I'm not a TV presenter. I have too much expression. Okay, so you were raised eating basically the entire pig nearly.
Absolutely. So when it comes to people think I'm judging them for not being vegan or plant-based, whatever, listen, I have no heaven or hell to put you in because I get it. I was addicted to all of those foods and I thought it was normal, you know? Until I, came into some health challenges, I was like, oh, it's connected to these foods. Oh, okay, but I still can't stop eating them. So
What was it for you? Was it weight? Was it something else?
yeah, I was definitely gaining weight for sure. It was fibroids is what I was growing inside of me. I had 2 of them the size of tennis balls. And so, yeah, I couldn't understand like why my stomach wouldn't go down and just bloating was easily for me and all this kind of things. And, the solution was to just cut them out. But I was like, let's go deeper and understand why they're there, how they got there, all that kind of stuff. And it's basically what we're consuming every day. So, yeah, so to go from and I'm sorry, I'm not even sure if I remember your original question.
Think the original question was around habits, I think. But when you said you had health issues, look, this is my thing. I feel like this is so special because I can tell you the first time I was a guest on a podcast, I accidentally stumbled into talking about my health journey out of the blue, and I took it for granted. I think people need to hear about this. And I wanted to emphasize some people feel like their best selves on diets other than this one, and I'm not going to try to influence that. But you're saying that you had these fibroids, and to understand what a fibroid is and to really get the common ground here, I can share with you that I very accidentally dropped what became 20 kilograms and now it's more like 25. And it just happened. I didn't, people join programs, people track points, people do all these things. I just dropped weight accidentally by eating food that was not, food that was real food and not junk. So I'm so curious about your health experience, partly with plants, but also just with eating real food and getting sensible with your habits. I'm guessing you would have been consuming other things aside from the entire pig. You're in America, right?
Correct, yes.
So you would have been surrounded by the junk foods, the fast food, all that. Was that playing a part?
Oh, a huge part, huge part. I mean, I played basketball in college, so, I was in pretty good physical shape. And so I have the mentality that I can eat whatever I want to because I'll just work it off. And that's actually where more of the problems even started because, doing the physicals in college, learning that I was anemic, and then we were trying to figure out why I'm anemic. And then it finally traced back to the fibroids because I was bleeding so excessively and just like, all right, this is not my cycle. It went from 1 week to 2 weeks to 3 weeks and 1 month and didn't even stop. So it's like,
My gosh,
what's
that's
happening?
nearly biblical. And the fibroid, does that feel a bit like a tumor? Is it like a lump? What is that?
Sorry, yes. So fibroids are tumors, and they're quote unquote almost always benign, almost, which is a good thing, but it's still a tumor. And the way that it's treated by most people in the medical profession here is that it's just no problem. It's no big deal. I mean, my doctor just kind of shrugged his shoulders and I was asking all these questions. And 15 minutes in of me asking questions, he seemed to get a little bit irritated and he was just like, just cut them out. And I was like, well, would they come back? And he was like, probably. It happens a lot, especially in Black women.
God.
So just come back and we'll cut them out again. And I'm just like, no, that does not sound right. That does not sound
Okay.
okay.
This is why some medical people hate me, because it's controversial to want to I'm getting wound up and passionate here. It's controversial to want to prevent something instead of literally just waiting until you have to cut out the tumor. It's controversial to want to prevent the habits that lead to reaching that point. And it's controversial to not just end up at the same place you were in again.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, that part. That part.
That's what the doctor said to you. Just you'll end up cutting out more tumors later.
Pretty much. And I actually get a lot of clients that come to me that have been down that road. I One of my most challenging, I guess, clients, she had 16 tumors several years ago. Then, well, she wasn't my client then, but several years ago, she told me she had 16 tumors. And then multiple years later, she had 32. So they doubled, obviously. And, and I was just telling her, I know I had her write down everything that she ate for like 2 weeks. And I saw it in plain in black and white, like this is the reason, this is part of it. And she didn't want to believe it. She had family members or one or two family members that went through the same thing, female cousins, and they were trying to tell her as well as I was trying to tell her. But we food is love. Food is how we express ourselves. Food is it's cultural. Food is like almost everything to everybody. It's the one thing that we all have in common, no matter where we live, no matter where we're from, no matter what we look like. Food is what we all have in common, right? Whether you can afford to eat or not. So she was just really, really tied to the certain foods. And it's no secret why she keeps going in and out of the hospital. Well, fast forward later, I was able to help her retrain her brain to look at food for what it is. It's either life or it's death, you know? So now, I've taught her to actually, there's a substitute for everything. Just like I said, I had a love for chicken, but I know what chicken does for me from an animal, so I just fry some oyster mushrooms. It's same texture, same look, same crunch, same flavor. The flavor comes from the plants. So when people are like, "No, I could never give up my meat," I'm like, "Listen, the flavor comes from these seasonings, you know? It's not
Yes,
the meat itself. If you just ate the meat,
it's
it would be
plain.
disgusting, all right? Like, no.
Okay,
So that's
flavor.
it.
I'm so keen to add for those who have not tried, whether you are eating plant-based or not, you have to try this. Everybody get a tamari soya sauce, which is, I think it's gluten-free from memory. Do you think it is
Yeah,
as well? So a
it is.
gluten-free tamari soya sauce and maple syrup, those two ingredients together will change your life. That's a step one. Do
Wow.
you think so?
What kind of flavor does it give?
It's like a teriyaki.
Okay, gotcha.
And
Okay.
both of those ingredients, I think, burn pretty fast. So it will just have that sort of sweet umami teriyaki kind of quick cook barbecue
Wow.
feel really quickly.
Wow, that seems amazing, and that just reminds me, it's like that's part of food psychology. We get so addicted to things because we remember how it tasted the last time, And just hearing you describe that was like, what can I make with that tonight? Like, you know?
Okay, it is so easy. The quickest thing you can do is get a block of tofu, and if it's a firm tofu, do really thin strips and maybe heat those in the pan with a bit of oil or without oil and toss on those flavors. It will A lot of people use that for a bacon feel without the bacon. But also you can put that onto the mushrooms. So the other trick I saw for mushrooms is you have the mushrooms in a pan. My gosh, this is becoming a cooking show for a second. You have the mushrooms in a pan and then they're frying for a bit, and then you put another pan on top to squish them, and then they improve the texture. Then once you put the sauce on, it's going to cook really fast. So you want something to be pretty much cooked and ready to just heat and flavor and then toss it on the plate.
Yes, yes, yes. That's an amazing method. A lot of people use that to make a steak like texture. So yeah, I was never a steak person, so never really tried it. But yeah, that sounds really good though.
But it's for Okay, so we could talk about the food methods all day. But I think we should pivot a little bit. One of the things that came to mind is that some people have the attitude, and I've seen this in some health professionals, some people have the attitude that eating anything is okay or enough, sufficient. And although eating anything is better than not eating, the concern I've had is more recently some people from other fields who don't focus on food, they are saying just eat anything. And back years ago, a fancy doctor was telling me, eat whatever you want. That's a long time before I lost weight, I can tell you that. It was after I stopped eating just whatever I wanted, skipped the
Yeah.
pies and cake, and then changes happened. But the point is that I'm a little bit worried that professionals and experts are saying just eat anything. And that even translates to the processed foods. Some people are still choosing the food from a packet that has the added sugars and salts and other ingredients. I'm wondering, how do you approach the regular mainstream individuals and also the experts who are saying that attitude when we know from our personal experiences that after we changed our habits, our bodies changed?
Wow. Well, I mean, I would just have them look. The proof is always there. The numbers don't lie. How you feel don't doesn't lie. How you look doesn't lie either, you know? So I would just have them do some real true soul searching and just say, how do you feel? And if you're questioning certain things, usually that's your intuition telling you that doesn't sound right, you know? And again, I shouldn't be so exhausted. Yes, if I have a family, if I have a job, if I have this and that, it's still not normal for your body to be so fatigued. And so your body keeps record, and it's gonna tell you straight up black and white, like, if that's okay to keep eating X, Y, and Z, you know? It's just the proof is there. I'm a researcher, and so I look at the facts, and
Look at the
it
facts.
always tell the story, right.
It's that
So,
simple. Look at the facts.
yeah, yeah. Wow. That's concerning.
It is. Are
Hmm.
there any go-to resources from yourself or from anyone else? Do you recommend any resources for people who need a guidance for the first step essentials?
Sure. So, if you're the type of person that can do your own research, I would just say, because I know this is the world of AI now. And information is just some of it, it's not the greatest, as we just got through talking about. So if you're going to do your own research, make sure, maybe start at googlescholar.com and look at the research that is peer reviewed, unbiased, and non-sponsored. Because if you remember maybe 10 to 15 years ago when a study came out and said sugar is healthy, okay, where do you think who made that research? Where do you
Who
think
paid
like
for it?
exactly, right?
I need to find out later. I'll look it up. I'm so keen to know who paid for that.
I mean, you can just think of the top beverage companies in the world. So, yeah, you know, it was for
Wow.
me. Yeah.
That's only the step 1, don't have the soda. It's the easiest thing.
You know what? When we're so addicted, just think of a crack addict or a heroin addict. You know, they're looking for any kind of, excuse to just continue on with the habits. And so if you love chocolate, for one, for example, and there's a study that says, chocolate is good for your heart, you're going to keep on eating it because you're like, oh, well, I love chocolate and I'm doing something for my heart. So why not? No, that's just everything is just taken out of context. And again, you have to look at who is benefiting from telling you this information. One of my most interesting stints in college was my marketing professor, and this was 30 years ago, 30 plus, but he was one of the first people to have me aware of certain, like, food marketing and how it works. And so there was one company, I can't remember what it was, but it was an orange juice company, and they're pretty much all the same now. But this orange company had, like, on the carton it said, heart healthy or good for your heart or something like that, right? Now, obviously, the average person is going to think, oh, okay, if I drink this juice, I'm doing something good for my heart.
So then
Well,
have
no.
lots of it.
Did it have what?
So did people then drink lots of it, like have extra
It was the number one orange juice company in the world for multiple years. So
in the
yes,
world?
in the in
Not
the
just
world.
the US, the world. Okay, let me guess. Was there sugar in the juice?
Of course there was. I mean, you're not gonna have something that tastes good and looks good and is the number one in the world if it doesn't have the addictive substance that we're talking about, right?
Added
So
sugars.
oh, plenty of added sugar. Plenty, plenty.
I'm
And so,
sorry, I will stop face palming because I'm just stunned by what these people have been doing.
yeah. And so the interesting part about the whole thing that this is heart healthy, it was basically some of the proceeds from your purchase goes toward heart research.
Goodness, it had nothing to do with the ingredients.
Nothing at all. If anything, it made you worse just from drinking it. So, yeah, sneaky stuff.
That's why I'm so skeptical. People have good intentions. This has taken us in a very interesting direction because it's a slippery slope. Firstly, there are fundraising companies, charities, FPs, not for profits that are trying to prevent some diseases, cancer diseases, that sort of thing, where they might have a fun celebratory, say, morning tea fundraising program that they get everybody to do your own morning tea, that sort of thing. And on the surface, it might seem fine. I don't think one cupcake in your year is no big deal, but they are not changing the food culture in doing that. It's just using the current food habits to then raise money to try to fix something that some of these foods are contributing to. And again, it's okay to eat a birthday cake. We're still living life. But I wonder to what extent those programs are even talking about food. Have you seen sometimes very good intentioned people who want to make a change? They have the opportunity to address the food factor a bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people do have good intentions. And then, of course, there's also a lot of people that are not even thinking about it because they're in the same loop and cycle and trap as everyone else. So it's just like, oh, it's a birthday. Okay, let's have cake. Let's have ice cream. Let's have all these other traditional things that we're used to. And so, yeah, I think that, not everybody's evil or anything like that, but there are definitely some people that get paid a pretty good salary to trick us and all those kind of things. So yeah.
So do you think
Good.
money is a part of it?
Do I think what?
Sorry, I apologize. Do you think money is a part of it?
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. That's a big part of it. It's not the only thing, but it's a big part for sure.
Okay. So the money is a factor in what people are telling us about what we eat.
Absolutely. I mean, again, going back to the sugar study, it's like sugar is healthy for us. Once again, who benefits from that? Because it's going to be so many people. It's like, oh, okay, great. I can do this and that. And you know deep down you shouldn't want to, but you're looking for any sign to help encourage your so-called bad habits, you know? So, yeah.
I'll ask another controversial question. Do you deal with families and children and the food habits around learning from a young age?
Definitely. I don't do children one-on-one, but I have done group workshops for, classes and community centers and things of that nature. And, of course, I love working with kids because 'cause they're so green and they're just so happy to learn and, all these other things that the world has not gotten to them yet. They're so excited about it. And, it reminds me of when I was a kid and I was trying to get my mom desperately to stop smoking. I would do anything. I would break her cigarettes, and, of course, she'd break my backside, but I didn't care because I was like, "I want you to stop smoking. It's so bad for you." But of course, 30 years later, she's 30, 40, almost 50 years later, still smoking. But yeah, kids have the greatest intentions. So yeah, I pretty much work with anyone, group setting, small, large, on stage, doesn't matter as long as I get to teach.
That's amazing. When you have a larger audience and you are on stage, you have a set amount of time to change how they act, how they live their lives. What's normally the top thing they need to do first to get their habits back on track? And what's the first myth you normally need to bust? Is it the sugar or something else?
No. So I get them to just become more aware. I spend a lot of time in my step by step program on becoming aware and how to become aware. It's just one thing to say, you need to pay attention to this. No, but there's creative ways that you can have someone become more aware of what they're doing, what they're eating, what it even tastes like. Earlier when we were talking about popcorn and movies, there was a study done by the Dr. Wansink that I was talking about where he did a study where he rented out a movie theater and he offered a free movie and free popcorn to the guests. And those guests had just finished eating dinner or lunch. I can't remember what time of day it was, but they had just finished eating. And the free popcorn was 5 days old. And so he was watching them the whole entire time pick up the popcorn, eat a little bit, and then they'd make this face and they'd put it back down. Well, within minutes, movie is going, they pick up the popcorn again and start eating it again. Their faces are like, "Oh, this is disgusting," but they're still eating it, even though it's disgusting because of the comparing. And so a lot of times we're distracted by watching TV or movies. We're gulping food because of whatever is going on, the music or all kinds of different cues that are just making us eat, 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 and we're not paying attention. And our brains are telling us, hey, we're full, stop, but that's why we have a lot of digestive issues. So just helping them walk through that is takes a lot of time and a lot of work, but it's definitely foundational to what we're building. And so those are the one of the first few things that I'm teaching people is to how to become aware and step by step, just keeping things really, really simple. Nothing too elaborate, over the head, just one, two, three, keep it really simple. So yeah.
What I'm saying in that example is a step further than what I expected, which is awesome because lots of people talk about swapping food. And I had phases of enjoying popcorn at home. I would make it in a pan or a popcorn maker and not add anything, no salt, no dairy-free butters or no oils, nothing. But
It
chances
tastes like
are
sweet home.
okay, so a little drizzle of something is nice. I know, look, I'm weird, but people can, okay, some people add nutritional yeast. I don't eat that a lot. It sort of relates to my tummy a bit strangely, but it's a thing people can do. Or I have occasionally added a slight drizzle of olive oil, but either way, it didn't have all of the stuff that's on the popcorn you see in the movie cinemas. But you're going beyond the swap because what I'm saying and what you revealed is that people are not even thinking about their eating. And it's the default of if I'm looking at a screen, I am eating something as I'm looking at a screen. And considering people's screen time became 4 hours in a day on average, and that's an average, so it could be more on some days. Are some of those people then defaulting to grabbing at food just because they are looking at something?
For sure. I mean, so there's another author that I enjoy reading his book, James Clear, and he's the author of Atomic Habits. And so he does a lot of teaching and research on how our environments are designed. So if you walk into any house, I bet at least 9.5 out of 10 times you walk in someone's house, where's the couch going to be faced? It's going to
The
be faced
TV.
toward the TV, right? So why does that have to be? Like it's a place to sit down and relax. Why can't it be facing the window or facing the wall or facing some art? You know what I mean? But we have gravitated to where it's our design to where it faces the TV. So that alone just kind of tells you how we've been conditioned to think about relaxation time or food in general and all these different pairings. So it's so interesting when you like take a step back and really pay attention to what's going on. So yeah.
In times in my life when the living room or my switch off space did not have a TV, I was more focused on doing other things. And I'm not saying that we should all not have a TV, but are you suggesting we could rearrange our surroundings in our homes to change our habits?
Absolutely. I mean, so when I think to go back to your earlier question about, when I'm talking to large groups of people, what am I really teaching them and what am I trying to have them leave home with or leave, that place with to take home is tiny little patterns that we can make adjustments around our environment to make it where it's so small it's almost hard to fail. So the redesigning your couch and your living space, that could be a big deal for some people. But one example that James gave was he wanted to start flossing more. And a lot of people don't typically floss because usually I'm going to ask you, where do you keep your floss in your home? Or do you have
I keep my floss and my toothbrush in my tote bag that's essentially like a handbag, which is a bit controversial. I should probably keep them somewhere more visible.
Exactly, yes. So that was kind of the point. So I myself, I have a little cup where I keep my toothbrush in. And then, if you want to start flossing more, get a little bowl and put the string or however it comes designed right next to your toothbrush because most people, like myself, the floss is in the drawer and it's not seen. So little small tiny patterns like that to improve your habits that you want to gravitate toward. Little things that it's almost again make it hard to fail if you redesign and make some simple changes for yourself. So yeah. Um, if you want another one, I can tell you another one.
I have another one, and then I have another question after this. Okay, the next question. I should really ask, did anything else aside from your health struggles lead you to fully work in this space? Did something tell you people need more guidance? I know you had a few different professions, well, a few different things you explored. You studied marketing. What made you say, okay, people need to prioritize this as a thing they need to learn?
um, That is a great question because I've been in multiple different areas within the health and wellness space. So of course, my own, growing up, I guess, always played basketball since I can remember. So obviously, that's automatically a lot of exercise. But on the food side, it didn't become more important because again, I could eat whatever I wanted to. So I thought, and it didn't start. I didn't start paying more attention to that until maybe almost 30 years old. And so I remember getting off the couch and my knees just almost buckled. And I think I was 29. Not, yeah, I wasn't even 30 yet. And I was just like, oh man, it's my time. to get arthritis. Almost everybody in my family has arthritis, and I have a pretty big family. And so I was like, well, it's just my time to get arthritis. And then I started to get acne, within a
Really?
year. And I was like, I didn't have acne as a teenager when most people get it. What is really going on? So it's just growing more and more and more. And I could probably smack you with my acne from here to where you are because it was just so
It was
bad.
so it was visible, it was distinct, visible acne around age 30.
Absolutely. Yes. I would barely want to leave the house. And if I did, I packed on makeup just to try to hide it. But of course, it's protruding from my face. So it's tough to hide. And, so that was one of the things where I start reading a little bit. It's like, okay, why do I have adult acne? Why do people get it? And the most consistent research that I found was dairy. And I was like, dairy? No, I can't let go of my milk and cheese. So that can't be it. Let's look for some other stuff, right? Because we try to make excuses for certain things. And once, I think I left dairy or milk alone for about 2 weeks, huge difference already. And I was just like, wow, okay, what if I stop eating cheese? What's going to happen? Because a lot of people in my family have glaucoma and what's the other one with the eyes? Glaucoma, and it
Wait,
starts with
no,
a C.
what's glaucoma?
Oh, so it's basically a disease in the eyes to where it begins to a point to where you can become legally blind, essentially. So yeah, so from what I understand with dairy, it just becomes built up so much in your body and your system that it just covers everything, and you get to a point to where you can't even see anymore. So multiple family members in my on my mother's side to where they have glaucoma, and I can't remember the other one. It starts with a C. Anyway, pretty much the same issues. And I was just like, I don't want to go down that road. So I want to pay attention to what's going on in my family. Let me do the opposite of what they're doing, and let's just see what happens. That's when I started running experiments on myself. And so I was like, okay, I am losing a lot of weight unintentionally. Like it's just happening because I'm watching what I'm eating. I've worn glasses since I was in the 6th grade, even though I needed them well before then. Vision was terrible. Now I'm getting older and I don't need my glasses anymore. Skin is clearing up. My knees are no longer hurting, no arthritis anymore. What's happened? Like, this is like I'm aging backwards through literally. And I'm just like, what's happening? And I found out that the top 9 of 10 diseases are all caused by food. And so that's when I went down rabbit holes of just research of more and more like what's going on. So that's how I got there.
Want to emphasize to anyone who is on the fence that even if there is some chance, some people use this logic for other beliefs as well. If there is any chance food could help, you're not exactly going to get more sick having a few more chunks of broccoli. You may as well do what you can. Why not? What do you have to lose by eating better food?
Right, definitely, right? You can always spit it out if you don't like it. But again, if you season your meats, season your veggies so they can taste, just as good. For some reason they are left bland and I don't understand why. Put some seasoning
Goodness.
on
You are
it.
tapping into something that is so prompted from my childhood because I grew up with the chunk of meat and then peas and carrot, maybe a broccoli, something like that on the side, right? I think this was in a few countries. Were you basically the same, the peas and carrot, something like that on the side of a plain chunk of meat? And let me know if you did the same because this is what I was doing as a kid. How do you make it have flavor at all? What you would call ketchup, I would call tomato sauce.
Wow,
I have
got you.
no idea how much sugar I was pouring onto my vegetables every day. No idea, but there was more of a chance that I would eat it because I knew nothing about how to create flavors. So, do you think that one of the best solutions we have is to reconnect with flavor?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm actually encouraging a friend of mine to help people understand how to season things because if he's a chef and so he's like, no, this needs more of cardamom, and I'm like, I don't even know what cardamom tastes like, you know what I mean? So how do we kind of help people with that, you know? But it is definitely interesting for sure. Start with
Goodness.
what you know.
I would love to collab with some of the cooking shows. I considered making a cooking show, but I think that I would have needed a whole setup for that. And initially, no, you don't need a whole setup.
We try to complicate things way too much. No, I know so many people that have a large following and they live in a box, you know? So no, use what you have. If you are good at what you're doing and it can explain it, that's all people really care about. So start.
I think you are influencing this. I can tell you more than 60 people have talked on this show. And the thing that's evolving is food is playing such a part. We need other things as well. We need to look after our mental health, but food influences the mind, the emotions, it influences your energy, your clarity, of course, your appearance. And it's not shaming. We're not shaming someone who's a particular shape. So, to be honest, I'm an Aussie size 12 right now, which is, gosh, I think that your 10 is out 14 from memory. So, for sizes. So I'm not tiny. It's like I'm not a size 2 or 4 or anything like that. We're not telling everybody to be a thin size. It's not about that, but it's about feeling okay and feeling well. Do you agree? It's not simply about fitting into a shape, but it's about feeling okay, and the role that food plays in that is so significant. But what you are reminding me of is that the simple habits, I think I took it for granted because I learned these habits and they became my new normal. And you're telling me other people have yet to learn the magic of the combo of tamari and maple syrup or other things. So there's a room for people to make a few simple steps and then really not just eat in a way that helps them, but also have fun.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. You know, again, it's kind of like tapping back into the innocence and the fun that we had as kids, you know? Whether, you know, and this example that I'm going to give, I'm not shaming anyone either because I've had my own challenges, right? And still do because this is not about perfection either. But when people tell me that they go to sporting events and they like to drink a lot of beer and the alcohol is what makes it fun, it's like, no, when we were kids, we could play with a box and had fun. You know what I mean? It's not the alcohol, it's not anything outside of you was what makes it fun. It's internal, you know? So if you can just reach from within to figure out what you actually enjoy, I think that's one of the bigger problems. We're not doing things that we enjoy anymore. We're just going through the motions and just like doing it because we have to, you know? So, yeah, if you have to get something from outside of yourself to enjoy life or enjoy a moment, that's the wrong kind of mentality. So, yeah, I don't know. We got to figure out to be kids again, you know?
You need to enjoy your life instead of just consuming enjoyable things.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the first things I talk about as well in my program is I don't even bring up food for a while. Like it- it's so many other things that's outside of us that drives our behavior toward food. And it's the stress, it's the emotions, the ups and downs that make us drive toward a particular food. And if you can stop yourself in the middle of that and be like, okay, why do I specifically want a donut right now? It's something else that's emotional that's going on. So when you were talking about, you know, not putting anything on your popcorn, most people, including myself, were like, wait a minute, that tastes like styrofoam. So what do you mean you don't put anything in your popcorn? But if you want a sweet popcorn or a savory type of popcorn, that tells a story on what's going on that your body is really truly asking for. So, really dialing back and figuring out it's like, okay, am I happy in my life? If not, what's going to make me happy? What is making me feel the way that I am? Is it because I feel like, you know, I just went through a breakup in a relationship. So, I'm missing that person now. Well, the toppings that you would put on your popcorn or the way that you gravitate toward a donut or a cookie or chips, that all tells a story on what's going on the inside. And so you have to pay attention and actually address that If not, you're going to keep reaching toward those things outside of you and trying to fill a void. And guess what? You're never going to fill that void because food does not serve that purpose. It may feel like it does for temporary reasons, but after 10 minutes, 30 minutes, you're going to be back in the same loop again. And so,
What
yeah.
fills the void for you? Is it purpose? Is it something else?
Well, just being talking to you and talking to people like this, doing these workshops, I absolutely love it. And not, for them and for myself, it's reminders for myself too, because again, I'm not perfect. This is not about perfection. There's no such thing. But there are certain things I'll think about when a client comes to me and they ask me certain things, and I'm like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about this X, Y, and Z, and it's a great reminder for myself. So this is my playground. So yeah, I absolutely love it.
Want you to I want you to be on this playground as well. I want to wind up with 3 lessons that everybody should do or remember, because I love having 3 of something, and it can be a wind up of a call to action for everybody who's listening.
Okay. So I kind of gave away some of my nuggets already as far as,
And
waking up, doing things
you can
opposite.
recap.
But no, 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 it's all right. I'll give you some new ones. This comes from research as well. So, belief, desire, and expectancy. You have to, and I don't want to sound like a after school commercial, but you do have to have belief in yourself. Okay? You do have to have belief into whatever it is that you're aspiring to do, whatever goals that you want to reach. You have to actually believe that you can reach it. If not, we need to scale back on that goal before we just, a lot of us just try to bite off too much. And the brain is going to say, danger, danger, that's way too much. Let's just go back and sit on the couch because that's safe. Our brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do when we try to bite off way too much at one time. So if you have a goal and you don't actually believe that you can get to that goal, you're exactly right. So we need to scale back and figure out what's some smaller steps to get to that bigger goal. And then from there is the desire. In order to believe that you can get to a goal, you actually have to desire it. You actually have to figure out some kind of way where you can link it to where this is what I want to do. I want to find my own playground and whatnot. So I have to have that desirability in order to keep going and be consistent. And then from there is the expectancy theory. It's like I expect myself to get there, and I believe that I deserve to get X, Y, and Z from these particular goals. So belief, desire, expectancy, that opens up a world of doors for you.
Dr. Denise, thank you so much for your time, your conversation, your wisdom, and your personal insights as well. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thank you so much again for having me, and let me know when you want to come back. I'd love to come back again.
Awesome. Will do.
All right. You have a good one.